Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to the regular meeting of the village.
Did you have to put down your firstborn as well?
Where's the batteries go? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting for the Village of Wheeling, January 15th, 2018. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Clerk Simpson.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Brady informed the board he would not be here this evening, and President Horker.
I am here. We have before you the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of December 18th, 2017. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Papantos, second.
I'll second.
Trustee Lang, roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Abstain.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Administration of oaths. Clerk Simpson. Mr. Travis Small. We have a brand new fireman.
Okay, thank you. Hi. You raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Yep.
I, Travis Small,
I, Travis Small,
having been appointed to the position of firefighter paramedic
having been appointed to the position of firefighter paramedic
in the village of Wheeling,
in the village of Wheeling,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
in the counties of Cook and Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of firefighter paramedics
of the position of firefighter paramedic
according to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Travis, I get to have the fun part here now of welcoming you to the Wheeling Fire Department. As we have discussed, it's a new part of your family, and hopefully a very exciting time for you going forward. A little bit about Travis for those of you that are watching at home and here in the group. He grew up in Des Plaines. He's a local guy. Later moved out to Marengo with his folks, lives out there right now. He's been a paid-on-call firefighter in Marengo and Huntley, where he's completed his firefighter certification as well as his paramedic certification. Interesting note, he comes from a firefighting family. He's a third-generation firefighter. His father I've had the honor of knowing from his years in Des Plaines, and his father is finishing 40 years of service coming up very shortly in April. He fills a vacancy that was created by the retirement of Scott Clough earlier this spring, and he'll be going to A shift. So with that, I am pleased to present you with your badge. Little symbolism on the badges. They have a red center, which stands for courage. Hopefully you will have the courage to do the job and under the worst of conditions, but also along the way have a fulfilling career and a joyful career. Also on the badge are little symbols that go back about 150 years, symbols of tools that used to be used by the fire service. Again, a little part of the tradition. And then a little bit of our tradition, your badge number is 184. We do not hand me down badge numbers. You will always be 184. Nobody else will ever be 184. So as you go through your career here in Wheeling, I hope you'll wear this badge with pride and honor. Thank you.
I want to introduce Travis's father, Scott Small. He's a like the chief said, he's retired from Des Plaines, going on his 40th year. We do have little traditions here of also having his father pin him on the badge. Little history on a fire helmet. The purpose is basically to keep you from getting hit on the head with things. So that's about all I got on that. Travis made me a promise, and he said when I called him and asked him, some background information, and he's going to get his degree, and he hasn't finished it. So he's promising in front of all of us, especially his mother, he's going to finish that degree.
Yes, I am.
So we're looking forward. He's a member of the family now, and we'll take good care of him.
Sure. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for coming. I got my parents, obviously, and my sister here. I have my aunts and my uncles here. And I also have some really close friends that are second family to me that are here tonight. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming.
As a little sign of our appreciation, we have some refreshments in the lobby. I would look for a motion to recess for cake and for about 10 minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Be a motion, Trustee Vogel, second Trustee Kruger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will reconvene in 10 minutes at 6:47.
Motion by.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I need a motion to reconvene into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
That would be a motion from trustee Vogel, second from trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Citizens' comments. Clerk Simpson.
Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Ms. Wilson?
Oh, she's gonna be mad. Call her again.
Ms. Wilson? One more time.
One more time.
Ms. Wilson? Consent agenda?
Are there any other people signed
No,
up?
there isn't.
Petitioner seems to be missing.
Correct.
Move
Consent
on.
agenda? Okay. All items listed on the consent
Nope.
agenda.
Staff reports.
Staff reports. Sorry, staff
Oh, I'm
reports.
sorry. I was waiting.
Sure, Director Huizer.
Good evening. I just want to invite everyone, tonight on the consent agenda, there is an ordinance for destruction or declaration of surplus equipment. A lot of that has to do with the senior center. Now that we've closed the senior center, we have a lot of items that we no longer need. Those items will be declared surplus and will be available for sale on Friday, January 19th, from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the senior center. We invite everyone, if anyone is interested, you can call 847-459-2670 for more information. There will be nothing sold ahead of time. If you're interested, show up at 9:30. Thanks.
What day was that?
That's Friday, January 19th.
Thank you. Economic Developer, Mr. Malenefi.
Thank you, President Horker. I wanted to provide an update to the community on the recent announcement regarding the planned closure of Sam's Club on January 26. The village manager immediately contacted the attorney for Sam's Club once the village was notified of the closure. Sam's Club has been a major sales tax generator in the village. We understand Sam's Club has a long-term lease on the property. I contacted the broker for Sam's Club, and he indicated Sam's Club will likely seek a termination of the lease with the property owner first, and if unsuccessful, will then seek replacement tenants for sublease of the space. The broker was uncertain whether Sam's Club would convert the location into a distribution center or fulfillment center. Economic development staff is assessing our strategy relative to a replacement tenant or tenants if we are given the opportunity. We've already started to compile a list of replacement stores based upon their competitive alignment of locations. We will continue to keep close contact with Sam's Club regarding their objectives with this property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malenefi.
You're welcome.
Mr. Swendelis, am I stepping on your shoes?
Can I ask a
I
question
don't know. Okay.
on that?
Mr. Lang.
Thank you. John, what's our options if they decide to keep the lease going and keep it dark? We have pretty limited options
Pretty narrow options. In other communities, you're probably familiar with Dominic's when they closed a number of stores over the years. Some of those remain vacant for some time. And those grocery stores actually had a strategy to keep competition out and would rather pay the lease rather than let another competitor in. So we do have, zoning powers. We have the eminent domain and so forth, but we've already been in close contact with the broker, and it's in their best interest to terminate the lease and negotiate with their landlord to buy that lease out and lease it to another tenant or replacement tenants?
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
No other questions? Mr. Jennings?
Thank you. I have a quick note from the Board of Health. The monthly medication and sharps collection will be held this Saturday at the police station from 10 to noon. The items that can be dropped off include prescription and over-the-counter medications in the original packaging, as well as sharps, such as needles and syringes, in the approved rigid containers with a sealed lid. If you have any questions, you can contact our health officer, Serena Klinger, at 847-499-9048. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. And finally, Chief Dunn.
Thank you, President Horker. The police department has a supply of identity theft booklets that are available in our lobby. This is an issue facing us not only nationally but locally, where residents are being scammed out of property and money via the internet and by using their credit cards. This book covers all the subject matter, has tips on how to avoid it, and also tells you how to deal with it should it happen to you. So these are available at the police station. We'll have them out at all our community events also.
And they're available in English and Spanish?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Clerk Simpson.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event that item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution granting the 2018 George Hebert Citizenship Award to Marilyn Cromie. 11B, resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the village manager to approve an agreement with Melrose Pyrotechnics Incorporated for a public fireworks display on June 30th, 2018 at a price not to exceed $30,000. Item 11C, resolution authorizing change order number 1 in final to reduce the $86,990 generator contract with Patent Power Systems at Reservoir Number 2 by $14,014. 11D, resolution authorizing change order number 1 and final to reduce the 2017 pavement marking contract with Maintenance Coating Company by the amount of $11,251.83. 11E, resolution waiving the fidelity bond requirements for AMVET's Philip Carpenter Post 66 to conduct a raffle event from January to December 2018. 11F, ordinance declaring a surplus and authorizing the disposition of personal property owned by the Village of Wheeling. 11G, resolution authorizing the village president and clerk to execute a third extension to a tolling agreement with the Illinois Municipal Investment Fund.
If there are no questions, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yes, I'd like you to move the waiving the competitive bidding.
You do not ask questions
Or
at this
B?
section. Thank you.
I'm asking you to, it says right up there that unless a citizen requests that you move it to the other part of the agenda, because I always get very concerned whenever there's a waiving of competitive bidding. Number B, resolution waiving competitive bids and authorizing the village manager to approve an agreement with Melrose Pyrotechnics for a public works display on June 30th at a price not to exceed $30,000. I think that waiving competitive bidding is not in the public's best interest. I'd like to see us get the best price, so I hope that you discuss that.
We're removing 11B?
Ferrolo, what do we do?
We remove 11B from the consent agenda and we make it 13H.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody else? Be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second, Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. New business. Clerk Simpson.
13A, a public hearing regarding Class 6B for Rose Property Partners LLC, 270 Larkin Drive.
Mr. Malanofi?
Thank you, President Horker. An application for a 6B real estate property tax classification has been submitted by Rose Property Partners, LLC. The applicant plans to purchase and rehabilitate the vacant industrial property at 270 Larkin Drive. Following a substantial rehabilitation of the existing facility, they will lease the space to a related entity, Rose Pest Solutions. Rose Property Partners is requesting the Class 6B based upon occupation of an abandoned property that has been vacant for greater than 24 continuous months with substantial rehabilitation. They plan to occupy part of the property for its use consisting of light assembly, warehousing, distribution of products used in pest management, insulation, and wildlife management industries. The applicant also plans on leasing out the remainder of the building to industrial users. The subject property consists of approximately 40,000 square foot site with roughly 16,242 square feet of building thereon. The building is currently split into 4 units, A, B, C, and D. Unit C is approximately 3,098 square feet and is occupied by a month-to-month tenant, Quality Door, for its use consisting of the warehousing of doors. The remaining units are approximately 13,144 square feet, has been 100% vacant and unused since January 2015. The applicant is applying to create 2 new pins, permanent index numbers on the subject property. 1 pin will consist of the currently occupied Unit C, and the other pin will consist of the remainder of the building, 13,144 square feet. Okay. As a result, the applicant is only requesting a Class 6B incentive on the approximately 13,144 square feet that has been 100% vacant and unused since January 2015. The applicant plans to invest approximately $175,000 to rehabilitate the subject property and will create approximately 15 to 20 construction jobs. Rose Pest Solutions has a number of locations throughout Illinois and Indiana, which includes 2 in Cook County. Rose Pest Solutions plans to move its branch from Northfield to the subject property and to bring 18 all full-time of its employees to the subject property. They'd add 2 to 4 new employees as soon as possible and approximately 4 to 6 employees in the next 5 to 10 years. Rose Pest Solutions plans to undertake $175,000 in rehabilitation, including removal of broken interior drywall, install new ceiling and new carpeting in the office space, paint the office and warehouse, renovate the bathrooms, repair the HVAC system, remove a subterranean termite infestation, repair the concrete curbs in the parking lot, paint the exterior doors, and repair the roof, as well as complete other maintenance. Although the applicant will initially be repairing the roof, it will have to be replaced in roughly 3 years. The cost to replace the roof is approximately $82,000 above the budget of $175,000. Rose Pest Solutions expects to generate approximately $15,000 to $20,000 in state sales tax revenue. Village staff has reviewed the application as summarized and recommends approval of the Class 6B property tax classification based upon vacancy for the greater than 24 continuous months and substantial rehabilitation. The applicant is here should the board have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing for the public to make comments regarding the request for a 6B real estate tax assessment classification for the Rose Property Partners, LLC. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Herald. Are there any comments from the public? If there are no comments from the public, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Vogel. Second?
Second.
Trustee Papantos, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Mr. Malinefi, you have read a very good description of, very thorough description of the item before us, the 6B tax exemption for the property. Do you have anything to add, and are there any questions from the board?
I would just like to say that this 6B application meets all the requirements of the village and the county as I have stated.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes, are the petitioners here? Somebody? Just out of curiosity, I'm sorry, you're going to have to come to the microphone.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Zach Kafitz on behalf of Rose Property Partners, and here with me is Bob Zold, one of the owners of the LLC.
Thank you. Do you plan to store any hazardous materials there, Mr. Dold?
No.
Okay, because of pest control, and that's why I'm asking.
I would not consider them hazardous materials. They would be normal pest control materials that we use every day in our service protocols.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
You want me to read it or not read it? Okay.
Yes, please.
I think you have to
You want me
read
to
it.
read it? Yes. Okay, 13B, resolution consenting to a Cook County Class 6B real estate tax assessment classification for the property located at 270 Larkin Drive in the village of Wheeling, Illinois.
Then we had a motion from Trustee Vogel, and we had a second from Trustee Papantos.
Okay.
And we'll need a roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Lang? Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
That was what I read.
That was done.
Thank you.
13C.
Clerk Simpson, 13C.
Resolution waiving competitive bids and authorizing the purchase of a Mako breathing air compressor assembly from Air One Equipment Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $38,245.
Chief McIsaac.
Thank you very much. Before you tonight is a request to replace a 26-year-old breathing apparatus compressor unit. This unit is used to provide breathing air to the firefighters' self-contained breathing apparatus, as well as the dive team's underwater scuba cylinders. As outlined in the memo to you, fire department staff has researched various options available to us. After deciding on the Mako units, since they are extensively used by the U.S. military, in particular the U.S. Navy, we standardized on a piece of equipment. As you know, we have a bunch of purchasing options available to us. This particular equipment was actually bid by the federal government under the General Services Administration, the GSA, and we were provided a price in accordance with that federal bid. In talking with the regional vendor, because of their relationship with Mako directly, they were able to offer the unit to us not only below federal bids, but included the turnkey installation of the new breathing air compressor, which was not originally included in the GSA pricing. So we actually ended up with a substantially better deal than what could be obtained through the public bidding process. This project is currently under budget. We're asking for your approval to proceed with a purchase in the amount of $38,245,000.
Any questions from the board? No questions?
Moved.
Motion from Trustee Kruger to approve, second.
Second.
Trustee Vogel, roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13D, resolution authorizing the purchase of one medium-duty Horton ambulance from Foster Coach Sales Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $272,507.
Chief McIsaac.
Thank you very much. Before you tonight is the completion of the ambulance upgrade program. This item is included in our capital equipment replacement fund. As you know, we deferred a number of purchases over the last 10 years. We're playing a little catch-up right now. This will end up completing the upgrade of our ambulance fleet. This was bid by the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative, which is part of the Northwest Municipal Conference. We have used this program in excess of the last 20 years. It has been very favorable to the Village of Wheeling. The vendor involved with this, Foster Coach Sales Incorporated, has been a successful bidder and vendor going back a number of years with, again, positive results. This ambulance would be identical in scope and design as our previously purchased units over the last several years. It is also under budget from what was originally planned. We're asking for your approval to proceed at a cost not to exceed $272,507.
Questions from the board? Trustee Papantos.
Thank you.
And then Trustee Lang.
Chief McIsaac, you said that this wraps up the replacement program. When do we expect the next replacement to come due?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 years.
And how many miles are on the vehicle we're currently replacing?
Over 100,000 miles.
Great, thank you. And thank you to Mr. Spratt, who's probably kept that thing running well past its prime.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Lang?
I just wanted to mention and thank the responsibility of the Foreign Fire Tax Board for paying for some of the upgrades. I think that was responsible use of those funds again. I know we've done that in the past, and it's great that you were able to get some good upgrades on this equipment. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. If there are no other comments, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion Trustee Kruger, second Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Item
E.
13E, ordinance vacating a certain portion of Dean Avenue and Kerry Lane.
Mr. Ferrolo.
Thank you, President Horker. Before the board tonight is an ordinance vacating a portion of Dean Avenue and Kerry Lane to allow for Handyfoil to complete an expansion of their operations in Wheeling. The plat of vacation attached to the ordinance shows the area to be vacated. The ordinance has several conditions before it will be recorded. Handyfoil will be required to pay the appraised value of $30,000 of this right-of-way to the Village of Wheeling, and also to pay any professional fees associated with preparing the ordinance as well as the plat of vacation. I can take any questions, but this, to pass this ordinance requires 3/4 of the trustees or 5 total to make passage. So we would need all of the trustees to approve the vacation ordinance tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrolo. Trustee Papantos, you had a question?
Thank you.
Next.
Does this have any effect on the residents of Wolf Run Estates where the streets run through?
Let Mr. Jennings probably address that.
No, the right-of-way in question is an unimproved right-of-way. There's no access on the two street segments that are up for vacation this evening. The street right-of-way for Carroll provides the access to the front, which is where the properties currently have their access. So there's 2 sections of Wolf Run. This is the north section, and all of the properties in that area that are utilized currently have their access off of Carroll, which would not be affected by this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Vogel?
Similar question. Does it affect any? I'm not sure what all this is on the left. Does it affect the frontage of any land future on the left-hand side of Dean Avenue? What is that?
Handyfoil is located on the left-hand side, abutting the right-of-way in question.
Right.
And from our understanding, Handyfoil intends to utilize this land to facilitate a small addition.
Okay, and there's nobody else over there that would be affected?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Vito, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm looking at just a regular map, not the plat of vacation. Is this where like Dean and Deborah is, or is it like the little L where Carol's at?
It's the L. If you see where at the north end, there's Kerry, comes off of Wolf, and Carroll provides north-south access. So this is the unimproved right-of-way between those homes and the back of Handyfoil.
Okay, thanks. Jim, can you just explain in layman's terms what all this means? Because normal people don't say vacating and
certainly
there's no street there. So
no,
why do we do this?
It's unimproved. I think it's overgrown with grass. At some point, it was dedicated for right-of-way in the past on a plat. It was never improved. There's really no plan to improve it by the village. There is a statute called a vacation statute in the Illinois Municipal Code that allows the municipality to vacate right-of-way that it does not intend to improve in the future. That's what this does. The statute also allows for the municipality to sell the right-of-way to one of the abutting property owners, as opposed to what used to happen in the past, where upon a vacation, half of the right-of-way vacated would go to one property owner, the other half would go to the other on the other side. The new statute passed in not new anymore, but the early 90s allowed for a municipality to get an appraised value and actually sell the right-of-way, which is what's happening here. So we're actually taking this property off the books as right-of-way to be used for a public roadway because it won't be improved, and selling it in fee simple to a private property owner who then will put the property back on the tax rolls and ultimately will pay taxes on this property.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Trustee Vito. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I do need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Trustee Vogel, second Trustee Pepantos. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Pepantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 13F, discussion regarding concept review for retail residential PUD at 889-903 West Dundee Road, Wingspan Development.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The proposal in front of you tonight is the first stage of our multi-stage PUD process. This is the first time you've seen this project. The development team is here, and I will pass it off to them in a few minutes. The project is a roughly 11.5 acre site, a portion of which is vacant, a portion of which is underutilized commercial in the form of a vacant furniture store, and then there's a small portion which is also an occupied commercial structure. The development team is proposing a plan unit development that would involve a retail component along Dundee Road and a residential component consisting of 55 townhome units, which would essentially be the extension of Jenkins to the rear of the commercial component. The development team is proposing to allow a one-way road effectively around the back of the townhome development to provide the residents to easy access to the retail without facilitating cut-through traffic the other way. The townhome development, again consisting of 55 units, would be configured with motor court style back-to-back garages, and so that the units would face each other along a pedestrian way. With that, I would hand it over to the development team. Mr. Coleman, I think you're... that mouse up there will control the slides, so if you scroll slowly, it'll go one slide at a time.
Terrific. Thank you very much. My name is Chris Coleman, and I'm with Wingspan Development Group. With me tonight is Kelly O'Connor from Studio 222 Architects and Matt Shoemaker from Cage Engineering, so they can help answer any other specific questions that you may have that I may not be able to answer. So thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. The property, as Andrew described, is roughly 11.5 acres. There's the two buildings on here that he mentioned. The one on the east side of the property is about 28,000 square feet. It's partially occupied. The other building is 30,000 square feet. It's totally empty. So we believe that this property can be reinvented or repositioned as a much better retail center with a better orientation to Dundee Road to capitalize on the 25,000 daily traffic count or so. And then the building that we're actually proposing raising both of these structures and building 3 new buildings that would be much better designed to tailor to today's tenant population. They'd have better relationship to Dundee Road, and they'd be more desirable for today's tenants. So we can go through, here's an aerial that shows, again, the property again. This is the proposed site plan. So you can see that we have got 3 buildings. They're identified as A, B, and C here. The 2 larger buildings, B and C, are both around 18,000 square feet, and Building A is around 4,000 square feet. So we're taking about 60,000 square feet of retail in 2 structures. We're reducing that down, but we're putting it in 3 structures, 3 buildings, and each one of these buildings is designed with a drive-through. So we believe that that's one asset that is highly desirable among today's prospective tenant population, is the ability to have a drive-through on the building. We have a better orientation to Dundee Road. The existing larger building is tucked back here on the property with very little visibility. It's about, I think it's 300 feet or so off of the street, so it's kind of hidden. These buildings are better oriented to the street, so they've got a better relationship to people driving by. The row homes, as Andrew said, this is Jenkins Court here. We're extending that west through the property, and then there are motor courts here. Each motor court, as you can see here, this dimension line is 61 feet. So what that 61 feet is it's an 18.5-foot parking spot behind each garage, and then a, how do I go back?
If you right-click, you should be able to go backwards.
Oh, there we go, previous. So you've got, so this is designed 18.5 behind each garage, and then a reasonable drive aisle in between. So what that means is that for each one of these townhomes, you get the 2 spaces in the garage, plus you get 2 spaces directly behind your townhome. For guests that want to come see you, or if you have someone who needs to park, then you also have additional parking along the street in dedicated parking spots. We had an earlier design that we worked through with staff where we had a cul-de-sac bulb back here, but it was determined that this is a better traffic flow for a couple of reasons. One, for life safety, so that life safety can easily maneuver through the property, and 2, also for the residents, so that we're not having people exit the property going east to Jenkins Court and then making a left out here onto Elmhurst Road. They can come out through the center and then get out onto Dundee. This is a rendered image of the concept design for the retail. Each of the spaces is designed, as I mentioned, with a spatial relationship that's more desirable for today's tenant population. And you can see a little bit here on the end, right over here, this is that end cap with the drive-through. So the cars would stack behind the building, and then they would come up here to the window, pick up their coffee or their burger, whatever it is, and then exit. These are concept elevations for the row homes. Let me back up just one second. So this design work was done by Studio 222, Ms. O'Connor's company, who's here tonight. The row home design was done by BSB. They also did the row homes over at Northgate Crossing, and it's an evolution of that same design concept, a refresh of that look. We've got 2 different designs here. One that shows the English basement look, where the lower level is partially below grade from the front, and one where the lower level is directly at grade. So, and the reason for that is because we've got, as we go through the engineering process, we're going to, at that time, determine what happens. One of the challenges with the site, this is the footprint of those buildings. So this is your front door, this is your garage area, front door, and then upstairs living. Let's go back. The site does have challenges. The site is within the Town Center 2 TIF district, and one of the challenges with the site is that you've got poor soil conditions that we believe are limited to this western side and the southern side of the property, all in here. So we would be looking to avail ourselves of some of those TIP funds to help offset the redevelopment costs of the property. We don't know what those numbers are going to be, but we do know that that's an important part of making the development feasible. And that may be a reason why the property looks like it does today and hasn't been previously redeveloped. We also know that back in this corner here, there's a low area that presents a nuisance to some neighbors back here. So we're working with village staff to make sure that when we do our survey work, we're actually going beyond our south property line here, all the way to the backs of these homes. And I'm saying this for two reasons. One, to let you know, but also to provide further notice to those neighbors that if they see a surveyor poking around in their yard, is for purposes of picking up these elevation contours, because what we want to do is we want to use our stormwater management on this property to try to alleviate that problem. We think, as I said, we think it's a very interesting opportunity. It's not without challenge, but we think that it can certainly be much improved over what it is today and can be a successful development. So with that, I'll open it to any questions. And again, if I can't answer them, I've got some great people here to help me.
Trustee Vogel was first, then Trustee Lang.
What, you mentioned several times the retail portion of it, that you're looking at a different set of tenants than normal. What exactly type of retail are you looking at?
Well, we're looking for certainly on these end caps, we're looking for a quick serve or fast casual restaurant user that would really appreciate that drive-through capacity. Could also be a coffee, but in that general framework. And then the rest of the tenants would be the tenants that would like to be around that user. You know, it could be another quick serve, fast casual that does not use a drive-through, and then it could be more traditional retail users. But one of the things that's different about the building is just the shape. You don't have, many of the existing buildings like these are deeper. They're just deeper than the tenant needs, so they end up with a bigger space than they can use, and it ends up being an inefficient design for them. So then you end up trying to make the space work where this is really designed based on what tenants want today.
Okay. Maybe a question you can't answer. Did you ever think of moving, or not moving, but taking over anything to the east?
That has been an idea of ours, but we haven't gained any traction with it at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. You were next, then Trustee Papantos.
Thank you. Well, best use of this plan so far of this property that I've seen to date. It looks nice initially. Is there such a thing as too much retail in this particular area? Would you feel confident that you're able to fill all these spots?
We feel very confident. We feel that the three ends will go very quickly because of the drive-throughs. And remember, we're actually reducing the total square footage of what's on the property right now. We're taking it from 60, plus or minus 60, down to 36.
Sure. And in the back portion, there's a church still. Is that still
over here?
Yeah. Is that still? Is it vacant, or is there still a church operating out of there?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't.
They are still operating.
Oh, they are. Okay. Just a thought to try to even square off some of that property a little bit more. I know it stretches a long way, but maybe that's for your face too when you go to the east, like Trustee Vogel's asking. Anyway, we'll put that aside for now. Is this an opportunity for us to fix that intersection at Cedar as well? I know we talked about removing the bridge, putting a more improved intersection so we can remove the bridge. John, is this something that is possible?
I don't think that bridge is going anywhere. But there has been some discussion about the intersection and the potential for a signalized intersection. Andrew, you want to fill us in on that?
And I don't want to put words in the developer's mouth, but this is something we have talked about, the opportunity to have a shared access point there. The main issue with it is that it involves multiple bureaucracies. You're looking at a school district and the speed at which the school district and the developer and IDOT could come to agreement as to exactly how that would function. It's a long timetable. The timetable for a development like this would probably be shorter than the timetable for the design and any other sort of approval that you would need to pull off a combined access. That's not to say it couldn't ever be done, but the timetable that we've discussed with this developer for the project is a shorter timetable than the approvals that would be necessary.
Is it something that we can at least initially explore and kick the tires, see how long it's, what the school district has in mind, and if they're cooperative, and then if it falls apart, it falls apart, we have a plan. But if not, it could be a pretty good improvement on that corner. So can you
of the staff? Yes,
yeah.
we can certainly ask them if they would be open to that discussion.
Okay, and going forward, what if we did have a signalized intersection there? Why couldn't the bridge come down at that point then?
We've gone through this with IDOT ad nauseum, and they are adamant about, there were a lot of implications of that bridge coming down, the cost and responsibility of that bridge coming down falling on the village. Then there were setback issues. There was, I don't recall off the top of my head, it was maybe 2 years ago the last time we had these conversations, but they were very thorough, and the conclusion was fairly concrete. But I mean, I'm happy to go through the file again and see if there's any opportunities we can.
If we get to that, get to that point, it would be nice to explore that. Maybe we could clean up a lot of that, those things in that area.
Sure.
Other than that, it's I look forward to the, future of this and seeing this again in a more finalized after it goes through the motion of the Plan Commission and so on. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos, Trustee Kruger is next then.
Thank you. And welcome to Wheeling. That area has needed help for some time, so I'm glad to see somebody's doing something. One of my biggest issues is for flood control and water, that especially the residents to the south of this development, so that we're not causing additional problems and that we have no negative impact for anybody. And I'm sure our staff will be working with you on a constant basis on that. You mentioned that there's poor soil conditions on the wooded area just to the west. What do you mean by poor soil conditions?
I think there's a high moisture content, and it's just not suitable compaction. So there's going to be some kind of more substantial soil removal and replacement in order to make it buildable.
Do you know why there's moisture issues there? I mean, why would that particular section be worse than?
Soils change from area to area, and they can be fine here and you hit bad soils over there. It just is a matter of the way, sometimes it can be the result of fill that occurred many, many years ago, and sometimes it's just the natural soil conditions. But that's why typically as part of any kind of due diligence process, you do soil borings on the property to try to determine the actual content of the soils.
Okay. It appears that the row home concept is fairly dense. Are you confident that 55 units will work within our public safety aspects of this, so that fire trucks and garbage trucks and everything else can get in and out of that area?
Yes, I am. I'm confident. That was a point of a discussion during the course of our meetings with staff, and so that's part of the reason why we eliminated the cul-de-sac, which was our original design, and we went with this, what I'll call a through street. It's not really a through street. We're going to limit access from the shopping center to the townhomes via signage, but we paid very careful attention to make sure that the motor courts were wide enough to receive a truck. We made sure that the extension of Jenkins was wide enough to accommodate life safety vehicles and moving trucks and things of that nature. In terms of the number of units and the neighborhood, we love this location for a couple of reasons. One, it feels like a residential neighborhood, because it is. We love the access to the school. We love being right next to the school. And we think that it provides a nice buffer from the single family to the commercial, which isn't there today. Right now you go just single family, boom, to commercial. Now you get this more desirable progression from single family to attached townhomes to the commercial.
What do you plan to market the row homes to?
We think that they'll be marketed to younger families. We think that that's going to be a big part of our demographic, is younger families. And then people maybe with one older child who's still at home, but they want to get out of all the troubles and cares of maintaining their property. They want to go to a more low-maintenance lifestyle.
And do you plan to do any type of privacy or delineation between the row homes and the current West Dunhurst subdivision?
The ones to the south?
Yes.
Well, we don't have a lot planned in our concept plan right now for separation between those two, other than trying to maintain whatever landscaping we can that's there. There are some trees and vegetation along that south property line. We do want to create separation with a berm and some planting materials up here on the north side, creating a separation between the commercial and the row homes. But as we get further along, we can certainly include within the design some landscaping here along the south property line.
Will there just be one unit type in the row homes?
Yes.
So is this, I know this is only conceptual, one bedroom, or two bedroom, three bedroom?
Two bedroom with an optional for a third bedroom.
Okay, so it's very small family at that point then?
Yeah, that's why I say people either starting their family out, or most of their kids are gone and maybe they've got one at home.
What type of time, we've talked about the timetable briefly, what type of timetable are you looking at from the point of conceptual review to people moving in?
To people moving in, I would say that we would like to be through the approval process certainly by late summer if that's possible, and then begin our land development work in the fall, and then have our first buildings coming out of the ground as early in the spring as possible of next year. So that'd be move-ins summer of 2019.
Okay, that's very aggressive.
Well, we try to be. That's our ideal schedule, so we'll see.
Okay, and, sorry, just reading my notes. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you, President Horker. Hi, Mr. Coleman. First of all, thanks for your interest in what is, you even said, a challenging parcel, and for a number of different reasons. Let's go piece by piece. Commercial component. When I consider the recent loss of Sam's Club and perhaps some retail being impacted by e-commerce, what are your visions here for retail tenants that can help keep those spaces filled?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things that we looked at when we did our concept reviews in-house, we actually brought this to staff also when we met with them, was that we had an alternate version that had similar, but we had a much bigger space. And talking it through with staff, we decided to move away from that concept, because if that one big user leaves, then you have limited opportunity to refill that space. So when I spoke earlier about the flexibility of this design concept and appealing to the way tenants want to represent their business in a storefront location, that's one of the things we're trying to achieve here, is flexibility for our prospective tenant population. So we keep the standard envelope a certain size, So if you want to go bigger, you can get 2. If you want to go smaller, you stay with 1. If you want to get even bigger, you can go to 3. So we create that flexibility in the design to appeal to the broadest range of users.
It's a good plan. I heard you say that, that it's desirable for drive-throughs. I see 3 drive-throughs there, I get nervous. What are you envisioning for building A? Seems like a little outlot building.
Well, building A, you know, we've got people, and you guys actually have a very great economic development team here. So in conjunction with them, we're going to target users that typically look for that size space. That would be a single user. It would be, we imagine, someplace where you could probably get a bagel and coffee or something like that. Who wants a freestanding space.
I'd rather see sort of short, fast food as opposed to a bank.
As a bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a bank on our list.
Good to hear that. Excellent.
Not that we don't like bankers.
No. I'm sure you love the bankers. On the residential component, it's been brought up before that the 55 units seems and looks a little dense, and the front elevations show a very narrow unit width. You said that the developer or the design for the townhomes is the same for Northgate Crossing?
Mm-hmm.
Townhomes, are those 20-foot, 25-foot widths as well?
Yeah, and as we get into the final design concept, we'll massage that out a little bit more. But typically, those are anywhere between 20 and 22 feet wide.
Right.
And then that difference in the width. Well, let me back up a little bit. Some builders will build those or design those even more narrowly. We don't like those designs because we feel it really compresses the garage, and then the garage gets really tight.
Right.
We like to try to stay in that 20, at least 20 and a half, somewhere in that area. And then what that allows you to do is it gives you a nicer space with the stair. The stair doesn't take up as much of the living area. The garage is more usable. Right. And then the upstairs, you get more flexibility when you do go to that 3rd bedroom. The 3rd bedroom isn't too small.
And you did mention that there was there would be some request at some point for some TIF incentive. You don't know exactly what that is yet, I get that. But you also said that you'd be marketing to younger, youthful families. You do understand that in a TIF district, you would have to pay impact fees for students that are living in your, am I correct on that?
Yes.
So I just want you to aware that if there's, 2 kids per unit, you got 110 kids over there, you're gonna pay for impact fees because it is in a TIF district. Traffic, I think that's been brought up as well. My question was, like Trustee Lang's, the consideration by the developer to work with IDOT for signalization at Dundee as it relates to that already existing traffic nightmare there. I heard your answer to that, so let's go to the east side of your property where currently it's kind of a unique little weird in and out island over there, and part of it is on your neighbor's property and part of it is on yours. How do you plan to work with that?
We're going to have a joint access agreement with them, and unfortunately that condition will have to stay the way it is. Our biggest concern with that condition is that as people are exiting this drive-through, they don't inadvertently or purposely try to exit here when this is clearly an in route. So what we've done is we're using sometimes called like a pork chop. We're going to guide them. They would have to drive over the curb to get into that drive aisle. So they're going to recirculate out of this, through this drive-through, and then come back around this way.
I see. Okay, and stormwater management, will our current efforts, this may be more for staff, but will our current efforts with the remapping of the flood zones and Wheelings, will that affect this parcel or this development?
We don't think so at this point, no.
Okay. Assuming comp and detention for this site will be per code at 1.5 to 1 acre feet?
It'll all be per MWRD and village guidelines.
Great. My overall position then is the west side of town definitely needs some new development. And this site has certainly had its challenges over the years. This concept's a good start. I think if density and of the residential component works its way out through the process, I can absolutely support this project.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Trustee Vito?
Just a basic question. You guys own the property, right?
No, we're a contract purchaser.
Okay. Is there going to be any problems with any acquisition of the property? I might be confusing this with the properties next to it, but I've heard there might be some issues.
No, we're not aware of any.
Okay. So you don't think getting actual ownership of the property is going to be a problem?
No.
Okay. In the south west corner, there's kind of a big empty space there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be like just an open field?
It's going to be an open space, and this is the area where we're anticipating that we need to pick up, that when we get done with the grading contours, there's going to be a low spot, generally in this area. So we're going to try to maintain that as an open space and then use that to collect the water. And then the water wants to go east and to we're showing detention capacity up here. So we're going to want to move the water that's currently here and get it up into this detention area. We're showing a vault detention system in this parking lot and then get it to the east.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Vito. Anyone else? Mr. Spondilis?
Thank you. As we do with all concept discussions, I want to give the board the opportunity just to talk at a very high level about TIF, which really is a yes or no question. We know that the retail redevelopment will be seeking TIF incentives. We've been made aware of that. So really the question before the general, do you like the concept review? Should we move them on? Just to give the board an opportunity to tell the developer if the board is not interested in participating through TIF incentive, this would be the time to do it. Again, obviously we are not negotiating a TIF deal here. It's simply an opportunity for the board and the developer to hear and the board to express their opinion in a simple yes or no, whether the project you see before you, you would be interested in participating at a level to be determined with TIF incentive. So then there's two consensus votes, one about TIF, one about the general concept.
First, we'll do the TIF, TIF contributions. Clerk, poll the board.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Okay.
And then poll the board.
For the concept?
I would imagine it should go close to the same, but concept approval.
Concept. Trustee Vogel?
Sure. Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings, you want to just talk about next steps so everyone's clear?
Sure, I alluded to this at the very beginning, but just in a little bit more detail for the benefit of the developer, the public, and the board. The PUD process here in Wheeling is a three-step process. There's a concept PUD, which this is part of that. There's a preliminary PUD review and approval, and there's a final PUD review and approval. Each one of those steps requires a meeting with the board as well as the Plan Commission. The way the concept review works out is that the board provides general feedback first. The Plan Commission will then also hear the same presentation, take the feedback that the board had, and incorporate that into some guidance for the preparation of the preliminary PUD plans. You'll then do the more detailed work. The preliminary PUD is really the most substantial part of our three-step process. You'll do the additional engineering design to determine exactly the amount of comp storage and detention that you need, and you get a better sense of the site grading at that point and all of your utility layouts. You'll go through the Plan Commission then for a public hearing on the preliminary PUD. They'll make a recommendation to the village board. The village board will then review the preliminary PUD. And then you have a window to finish the final PUD. If you go past that window, it starts over as a new public hearing at that point. So based on the schedule that the aggressive schedule that you've identified, it is possible to do it in that time frame. It does require a lot of work on the development team's part, but it is possible to get through the 3 steps in that time.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings.
Excuse me, President Horker.
Trustee Papantos.
Director Jennings, is there any public hearings involved in this for the people who live in that general area?
Yes, after the concept review stage, the next step is a public hearing with the Plan Commission. They would be required to do typical public hearing notice, which would be the sign on the property, the written notice to everyone within 250 feet, every property owner within 250 feet, and there's also a notice that we post in the newspaper.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Board direction? Trustee Lang?
No. Looking forward to seeing you.
Welcome.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Clerk Simpson, G.
13G, discussion regarding the village ambulance fee.
Chief McIsaac. Why?
This evening, before we get started talking about ambulance fees, I wanted to take a moment here to introduce Lindsay Morris. Back in October, we changed billing companies from Paramedic Billing Services to Andres Billing Services. And Lindsay is a field account representative with Andres, and I thought since we were doing this topic tonight, it might be good to allow her to explain to you, make sure you have a little confidence in how that service is provided to the residents and the community. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lindsay. She's got a short presentation.
Good evening. Thank you. So just a little bit about us. I'm Lindsay Morris, as Chief said. I'm the account rep. I kind of go out and about, and I visit our clients, and I do these things. And after 6 years, I don't know if I'm ever going to get comfortable doing these sort of things. Let's see. So a little bit about us. Andres Medical Billing, we started back basically in '79 by William Andres. He worked for Arlington Heights as a firefighter himself, and during that time, he decided to open up his own private ambulance service, Rescue 8. During that time, he realized a billing option was involved, and he decided to sell it. So we started by word of mouth. He sold it in '95, and then Andres Medical Billing was born. We started. I'm sorry. So we started back in '95. We started with 6 clients, and obviously we have grown over the years. To this day, we have just over 230 agencies. We do, most of our clients here are in Illinois. We also do everywhere from North Carolina, Texas, California, Colorado, Minnesota, Georgia, about 16 different states. We service for large municipalities, some fire protection districts, rural, volunteer, and private ambulance services as well. William Andres is retired and no longer with us, but his family and the previous management staff are still working with Andres Medical to this day. We employ about 130 staff in our office right over here in Arlington Heights. Maybe give it a minute. Oh, okay. So, as I said, we do have about 23 years of experience, and we partner with large fire and EMS agencies across the country. We do about 500,000 trips annually, and obviously as we grow, those numbers are increasing. It's our priority to maximize your revenue through our customized billing. We can develop the specific billing strategies that you need. We do realize that with 230 departments, not everybody fits in its cookie cutter, so we're able to identify your needs and supply billing for such that. We, obviously with the use of technology, we have changed over the years from paper copies to what we have now is we can just pull your runs and submit them electronically. Last year, we collected over $175 million for all of our billing agencies. As mentioned, we do provide some customized billing specifications for reporting and to meet your specific requirements. As I said, we started with paper, and we do have some departments, small ones, that still supply us with paper copies. They send them in the mail and we get them. But given technology these days, we're able to pull them electronically. Because of that, we do have some highly trained staff, and we're able to do that. We do, we care about, and we want to be compliant with all the Medicare and Medicaid restrictions and the regulations and the security standards. We do partner with the American Ambulance Association and Page Wolfberg and Worth for to stay up to current with the industry standards and all of the legal issues. Our fee, which I'm sure you have discussed with the chief, it is all-inclusive, so you'll never get a bill thereafter for any type of, if you need any documentation training, ICD-10 training, we do have on staff that will come out and supply that. You'll never get an additional bill because of those things. We do have, our office is separated into compliance, data entry, our customer service, any follow-up in your reporting, so all that is included as well. We do perform audits, internal audits on a monthly basis, and we do have outside companies come in and do audits for us. We do have our SOC 1 Type 2. It's just a systems and organizational controls report. It covers financial reporting. We do have network security. We use a compliant software called Laserfish. All of our EOBs, any of our correspondence, our checks, we do scan them in, and it is all available, all electronic. We do have some on-site servers as well as some off-site servers that we keep all of the information. We employ an on-site HIPAA compliance officer who does handle our internal education for all of our individuals on staff. She also is the one that will go out to our departments and provide that training to them. So we want to stay 100% compliant. She also implements some education for our departmental internal compliance. We do have cash, account rep, data entry, and customer service. So she does all the education for those as well. We use the Mitel for the phone monitoring, and this it monitors all the quality control, recording. Every phone call that we receive at the office, whether it's through our account, straight to our account reps or our customer service, they are recorded, and we do use them for training purposes. So Andre's medical billing, we focus on strictly EMS billing, and that's it. There are some agencies or billing companies that offer some contract workers, contract paramedics, and billing. While it may work for some, Andre's medical billing strives just to focus all of their energy on just strictly ambulance billing. We have designed this concept. It's obviously worked for us for 23 years. And it did William Andres very well. So while we want to just remain all of our focused, all of our trained staff to do just one thing. By providing ambulance billing to you, we want to take all of your administrative functions and your costs off you so you guys can focus on what you do best and let us handle all of the paperwork. It is a full-time job, 130 of us actually. So we have, like I said, been in business for 23 years. We have built a reputation, starting from just 6 agencies to now 230. We are located in Arlington Heights. That's where everything happens. right down the street from Portillo's, good and bad. So we've obviously seen some growth over the years. If you do have any questions, we are more than welcome. We're right in your backyard. We're more than welcome to go ahead and answer them. And that was just a little bit about us. Is there any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
So Chief McIsaac, what have we got?
Tonight before you, what's headed out as the process, is that before you is a discussion on ambulance fees. We first implemented ambulance billing for fees here in 2002. And our fee in 2002 was established to be the Medicare-Medicaid rate for the Chicago metro area, which every year is adjusted by the federal government. We charge the same fee whether you're a resident or non-resident, and as I pointed out, sometimes that fee from the federal government is adjusted. Other times it's not. There have been some years where the federal government did not adjust that rate, and in fact, one year it actually went down over the last 10 years briefly. The bottom line for us as an agency is that the rate changes that have gone on since 2002 have not kept up in any way, shape, or form with the cost of inflation and the cost of doing services. Right now, this is what we charge for ambulance calls. The basic life support, we would call this like a boo-boo and Band-Aid call. We charge $371.92. These are non-life-threatening incidents. These are children that fall and get scrapes and bruises. These are people that might have minor bang-ups and bruises from a minor car accident. People that just may not feel generally well, a little bit of some minor flu and things of that nature. We get into what's called Advanced Life Support 1. These are situations that have some potential. This might be somebody who's having chest pains, but not necessarily a cardiac event. The bill we charge is $441.65. When we get to the more top of the line advanced call, this is the cardiac calls where you're pushing medications, you're doing intubation, cardiac pacing, you're maintaining and establishing airways. We charge $639.24. And again, we charge the same rate whether you're a Medicare or Medicaid patient or whether you're on private insurance. So that is the three fees based on that fee structure. And as Lindsay pointed out, they pull our data from the cloud right off of our patient reporting situations. And this is what they turn around and issue a bill to the individuals who use the service. Annually, I know we discussed this back around the budget time in December, but right now we're collecting about $620,000 a year in revenue. We're averaging somewhere in the neighborhood about a 75–80% current collection rate, and it varies from day to day, month to month, but we're bringing in $620 a year. That's based upon our current fee structure, running about 2,900 calls a year. And one of the questions that I figured was going to come up is, well, how does that relate to our seniors and our non-seniors? It's about a 50-50 split. About 50% of our patients are senior citizens on Medicare, Medicaid, so it's paid for through Medicare, Medicaid. And the other 50% are roughly private insurance payments along the way. And as alluded in Lindsay's presentation, we do pay Andrew's medical billing services 4.75% of what is collected to handle all of our billing and processing and patient contact and subsequent follow-up. We did a survey of 43 municipalities and fire districts. You've had those in your packet. We looked at a whole variety of those, and in a nutshell, what we're faced with is Wheeling is in the bottom percentile. When we looked at the survey and we did an average, you'll see the numbers that are there in front of you for the three different categories, just looking at resident fees only, and you'll notice that in some cases they're almost double what we in fact charge, and that's the average. And there are many departments out there, of the 43 we looked at, many that also charge a higher rate for non-residents. What I did here is a graph. It's rather condensed, but it kind of gives you a perspective. I know you have more data in your packet, but it basically goes from high to low over this slide and the next one, showing you that based upon an ALS 2 fee, which is the most advanced medical care, the highest paying value. When you look at it from a resident standpoint, Franklin Park is the highest in the area at well over $2,000 per call. And then it slides down. On this particular slide, as you move through, I would draw your attention to people like Arlington Heights, who just recently implemented a $1,500 fee back in November for their residents for much the same reason, keeping up with inflation, haven't done it for a long time. Buffalo Grove is higher than us, Des Plaines, Morton Grove, Park Ridge, Skokie, they're all higher than us. And when you get all the way to the end of the survey, you'll find that there we are on the far right side, second from the bottom. When I look at that ALS 2 category, the only one that charges their residents, and I emphasize residents less than we do, is Northbrook. But they also, if you notice on the graph, those far 3 lines, the purple, the blue, and the orange, they charge a higher rate for non-residents, and that's even higher than what we currently charge. So to sum it up, we're at the very bottom and where we're at. And again, we haven't done anything since 2002. We looked at some various options, and before you tonight, what we are here to do is to discuss some options with you, have you mull them over and give us some direction as to where to go. It is our recommendation that we increase the fee to average of the residents' rates and apply it across the board to residents and non-residents. That is our primary recommendation. And we believe that that'll bring in a little more than $300,000 of additional revenue a year with no impact or changes to the current method and how we handle billing. It's strictly a rate change. An alternative to that, which we feel is an option if you're so inclined, would be to increase the fees to average with a different rate for non-residents. This is our optional recommendation. And depending on if you look at the average for what other municipalities who do charge a non-resident fee and combine it with the resident fees, you're looking at an increase of approximately $450,000 a year in revenue. Again, no change in the process, no subsequent follow-ups other than what we do already. But these are basically 2 recommendations. We have looked at other ones, increase the fees based upon a rate strictly defined by the village board. We're not recommending this because when you just start throwing darts at a wall and trying to come up with a number, it's a rather subjective idea. And we really don't know what that'll generate until a fee is actually picked, and we're not sure where to go with that. And then obviously there's the status quo. And we do feel that the time has come based upon the increasing needs of the services, inflation since 2002, and keeping up with the cost of services, that we do need to do something. And status quo is not our recommended option. Key points to walk away from my presentation is we're not recommending any changes to our billing process, our case management, our acceptance of insurance assignment, etc. All we are talking about here tonight is strictly a rate change. One of the advantages of what we're proposing to you tonight is that it places the cost of the service on the users of the service by not placing a flat tax across the board on everybody's property taxes. In other words, we're not asking everybody to completely subsidize ambulance service, even if they're a non-user. So this is basically fundamentally placing the cost of EMS service on a higher percentage on the users of that service, the 2,900 to 3,000 users a year. The big thing, there would be no outward changes if our recommendation was implemented to the residents. It would remain seamless. Everything we've been doing since 2002, processing, proceduring, would continue in the background. That's why we have Andre's medical billing here tonight. They handle everything. They've been doing the job since October, and it's been working incredibly well, as well or better than what we originally anticipated. It's been a good move. And again, I want to emphasize the only recommendation that staff is making to you tonight is to increase the rate as proposed. If you were to take staff's recommendation tonight, here you have a table showing you what those rates would be. This is drawn from the previous slides. These are not new numbers, but basically it shows you basic would go up to $751.77, ALS 1 would go to $872.01, and advanced life support would go to $1,025.05. Again, I emphasize when you look at what some of our neighbors are doing, this is well within the realm of what our neighbors are doing and actually below some of our neighbors such as Arlington Heights, which again is at $1,500 for all three of those categories. With that, I'm open to any questions you may have and direction.
Mr. Svandelis.
I'd just like to, thank you, Chief. I'd just like to add just a couple of things. For fairness sake, when the averages were calculated, we did take out the outliers, trying not to take advantage of anyone who was exactly that, an outlier. So the averages are with the top tier removed. And again, just to reiterate that anyone with insurance, that this is not a fee that they have to pay. This is a fee that their insurance pays. So effectively, we're simply capturing money through the insurance companies. Just wanted to make sure that those two things were highlighted for the board.
Thank you, Mr. Svandelis. Trustee Kruger, Trustee Papp, you're after.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, question for you. Do insurance companies, whether it be private or Medicare, Medicaid, do they accept or honor the BLS, ALS-1, and ALS-2 classifications?
Yes, that is actually a national classification. So when that is shared with insurance companies and as well as the federal government through Medicare, Medicaid, that they fully understand that. And they prefer it that way rather than just a flat fee.
It's real time. It's
the more complex the call, the more they're willing to pay.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's all I had.
Trustee Papantos, Trustee Vito, you're after.
Thank you. Chief McIsaac, and I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you know what the mix is between non-resident and resident transfers?
Not exactly, and I have to preface that. If we were to look at it, I would say it's close to 50-50, but non-resident is actually a can't think of the right word to say here, but it's a misnomer, because when you look at non-residents, because of our large industrial base here, most of the people that we would take out of our industrial park, most of those individuals are non-residents, even though they're working at a Wheeling occupancy. And that would be the complex side of this, is trying to break those kind of things out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Vito?
Yeah, Chief, do Medicare or Medicaid, do they set a fixed rate of what they're going to pay? In other words, are they going to care? Say if we made these $2,000 for BLS,
they're only going to pay that rate that we currently are charging. That's it. Every year they do an analysis for the Chicago metro area, and they say that's all we're going to pay. Obviously, we have the option, and we're proceeding to do that, is to go for Medicare Part B. A lot of people have supplementals, which will pick up another 20%.
And what about the private insurers? Do they set, is each one different?
Private insurance is usually less of an issue to deal with. I'm aware of one private ambulance company that charged a village employee to transport a child of theirs between two hospitals, non-life-threatening, who charged $6,000 for an inter-hospital transfer and was covered by insurance. Again, it depends on your insurance company, the level of coverage, but all insurance policies have some ambulance EMS function.
I guess what I'm getting at is, does it matter the amount that we're charging, or is the insurance company, Medicare, Medicaid, going to pay set fees? So if we said we're going to charge $8,000 for BLS, Medicare will say that's fine, we're giving you $500. We don't care.
Right.
Charge $1 million.
And then insurance will get into some ordinary, with the term ordinary and customary services.
Right.
But our experience has been private insurance, and looking at other agencies as well. Private insurance is usually not an issue. They will pay. We are well within the cost of these services. But Medicare, Medicaid will always be capped, because that is defined on a geographic region. Okay.
And as someone who chases ambulances for a living, I could say these prices are still a little low. I think you can go higher. On average, I've seen a lot of BLS at 1,000 and upwards from there. So.
By the hour, by the mile.
That's right.
Anything else, Trustee Vito?
No, that's it.
Trustee Lang?
And just to be cautious about insurance companies, I called mine today and asked these questions if I was had an ambulance call, and right away they hit you on your deductible. But I would imagine that if I'm getting picked up, if I need to get picked up in an ambulance and admitted to a hospital, my deductible's pretty much going to be
I'm glad you mentioned
taken
that.
care of.
One of the reasons we changed billing companies, as you might remember in the discussion we had, is that under our old billing service, their policy was to bill immediately for the services. And under Andre's, there's a 15-day delay because it allows the hospital bill in order to hit the door. And as you pointed out, we avoid the deductible issue because 9 times out of 10, if you're going into the emergency room, your fee is going to have lots of zeros after it, even if you went in there strictly for the flu. And as a result, that's part of increasing our revenues just by changing the process or procedure in which we're using.
That's makes a lot of sense because that's what it seemed like. You know, that's your first fee is your ambulance that you're going to get hit with. But again, if you get admitted to the hospital, it's going to be a lot more than an ambulance fee.
So then, your preference on if the board's done. So you're looking for. What's your recommendation on the desired scale?
Our primary recommendation was to go average across the board, same fee for resident and non-resident. But obviously we can go higher if the board so chooses. We just tried to give you something so you understood where you were looking at the numbers. Based on what you give direction tonight, we will be back with the actual ordinance at our next board meeting for formal adoption. But tonight was to get your direction and feeling of where your comfort level was.
Mr. Vito, would you like to lobby for something other than, this is option 2?
No, I think it's still low, but I don't want to lobby for it. What I've seen, I think it's still low, but I think the recommendation's a good one.
Trustee Lang?
Let me ask this. You got the averages at this timestamp right now. Is there any reasonable doubt that these other communities would raise their rates at any given time? Would we still be?
Some have raised recently. Some it's a hit or miss situation. I guess the advantage or disadvantage, however you'd like to look at this, is obviously if you're open to the suggestion, then we can obviously look at this every year at budget time.
I think we should. I just don't want to use this as another tax or another cost center for our residents. But I know we have to get a certain dollar amount out of the service and fully understand the rates are necessary. So, but I'd like to see them probably on a year-to-year basis looked at.
That can be accomplished.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Vogel, you had a question?
No, I'd like to lobby for option 2 that you gave us, your second option.
Which would be the average based on both resident and non-resident with a higher rate for non-residents.
Correct. I think at this point in time, we should go all in on this and do it and move forward at that for several reasons. One, the infrastructure that we have here is paid for by the residents for the fire department, the police department, et cetera. And I think the non-residents should pick up a bigger share of the accessories, so to speak.
What's the consensus of the board? Trustee Vogel, you're going with the option 2?
Yes, option 2.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes, option 2 with a review on a yearly basis.
Trustee Vito?
Just a question for Chief McIsaac. Are most of the non-residents involved in car accidents?
It's hit or miss. It really is.
Okay.
I didn't mean that as a pun. I apologize.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm for option 1, but if it's going to be a deal breaker, I can probably be easily swayed to option 2.
Your option 1,
yeah.
Unless we don't have enough for option 2.
Right.
All over the board.
Okay.
It's Joey.
What'd I do?
You're all over the board tonight.
You went for more than average.
I just said it was low. I didn't say I wanted to raise
So
it.
what did Trustee Lang want?
Doesn't mean it's right because other people are charging more.
We're getting there. It's true.
Yeah, I'm willing to go along with option 2.
Trustee Kruger? Yes, option 2. I'm like,
I was happy with staff's recommendation, but
that's 2.
No, it's 1.
No, it's 1.
No, it's one.
No, it's two.
Staff's recommendation is
Option 2 is the second option. Their second, right?
We gave you
In
two
the
options. One was
presentation.
average across the board, which was our preliminary position, and option 2 would be to go average across the board, but based upon the difference between resident and non-resident, so the non-residents would have a higher fee.
We're going off the memo.
I'm sorry,
You guys are going off the memo, we're going off the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
So average.
what was your preference, trustee?
Then, okay, if we're going off the memo, then
What would you like?
number 2. I'm good with staff recommendation,
Number 1?
so.
Thank you.
Wait. How about the question is average or not? Does that make sense?
Oh, that's non-residents. And,
I got 3 and 2. Not counting Horton.
Right.
Doesn't matter, I'm going with 2.
So far, everyone is in agreement, save for trustee Vito, who would rather keep status quo. Is that accurate?
What? No.
No.
I'm totally lost. I was for raising it to the recommendation across the board for residents
See
and
what happens when
non-residents
there's a handout?
to 1.
Trustee Vito
That's
and
where I
trustee Kruger were number 1.
As I understand
Chief is calling that 1.
As I understand the conversation right now, trustee Vito and trustee Kruger are taking the recommendation of a straight average across the board that would be applied the same rates to resident and non-resident.
Yes.
I have trustee Lang, Vogel, and Papantos that are recommending the second option, which is the average, but the average adjusted for non-residents who would pay a higher fee.
Yes.
Is that correct? Am I speaking for
That's what I
everybody
have.
has voted?
Got it.
Yes, that's what I was keeping track
So
of.
everyone is on this page.
Yes.
I'll
We
go
don't have President Harper's vote.
working on it.
Oh, you're working, okay.
I'll go with the average adjusted for residents and non-residents.
Okay, good.
My only concern.
Do we have a final answer?
Yes, my concern for that was I have a 3-3.
You have a 3.
No, it's 4 to 2.
You were an average straight across.
No,
No.
adjusted.
Oh, adjusted, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad I asked, thank you. Yeah, then it is. It would be, I have 4 to 2. It would be the average across the board with the average for the non-residents being the higher one. So non-residents would pay more.
Not have been this hard.
Correct.
Do I have consensus?
yeah, the village clerk position's already taken, sorry.
Just want to make sure I come back with what you'd like to see.
Okay.
Sorry for the confusion. We were working
Sorry.
off the memo versus the slide. Apologies.
Any other questions you might have?
It's good, stop.
Thank you very much.
Clerk Simpson, we had something taken off the consent agenda.
11B,
Correct.
do we reread it?
No, or wait, is that?
13H.
Yes. This goes here.
You read it again? You read it again?
Read it again.
Resolution waiving competitive bids and authorizing the village manager to approve an agreement with Melrose Pyrotechnics Incorporated for a public fireworks display on June 30th, 2018, at a price not to exceed $30,000.
Any questions from the board? Discussion from the board.
I have a question on this.
Trustee Lang.
Are there many firework companies out there that, in general, that?
Chief.
It is not something where there's a large quantity of it. Yes, there are other companies that are out there. I might mention to you that we tried to do bidding a number of years ago. The complexity of this is everybody buys their different display items from all over the world and trying to compare apples and oranges. Melrose was vetted and has been used a number of times. They do a number of regional shows, including over the years the city of Chicago. They've done the indoor displays at the United Center and places of this nature. They're one of the larger vendors, and I've lost track. The one year we did use another vendor, it was we had a lot of problems. We had fallout. We had a number of defective shells in that display. again, it's difficult to compare apples and apples. We do sit with them. We do work out what the show's going to be and the types of shells with them.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Trustee Lang.
Okay, wait. Okay.
We have a second, Trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes.
Okay.
Official communications, Mr. Svandilis.
Thank you. Just wanted to let the public know that for the next 3 months, both State Representative Julie Morrison and Congressman Brad Schneider will have their staff at the Indian Trails Public Library on the 4th Tuesday of each month. So that will be Tuesday, January 23rd, Tuesday, February 27th, and Tuesday, March 27th. Of course, we'll have this information on our website, so you don't have to memorize it. They will have staff at the library from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. available to speak to residents about both state and federal issues. Open-ended, just come in and sit down with them and ask your questions. Again, that will be advertised on our website with a flyer from the new Neighborhood Office Hour initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Svandilis. Trustee Lang.
Thank you. I want to make an official request to CD to look at garage-style doors, and I'm saying style doors, not exactly garage doors, for restaurant purposes and commercial purposes, restaurant type. I know there has been some requests in the past. Some of our restaurants, we have health reasons, probably fire reasons, that we don't have them in our code right now, but I'd like to look at it to see if it's possible. City of Chicago does it. There's a lot of restaurants in this area, Chicago area, that do these full open garage type doors, and it is just a nice atmosphere for a typical restaurant. It kind of opens new doors for these restaurants, if you would. Can we look into that and see what's possible?
We absolutely can, and thank you for the heads up earlier about it. And we have a good deal of information already. It turns out we have been looking into this and have some suggestions.
You're not going to tell me no already, right?
No, we're gonna tell you we figured it out.
Okay.
Trustee Vogel, you have something?
Yes, I don't know if anybody had a chance to see Sunday's Daily Herald Neighbor, but the headlines was "The Sky's the Limit," and it's talking about Wheeling High School students working on a NASA project. Wheeling High School was one of 15 high schools across the country that got involved in this project, and from what I understand, they're creating brackets and handles for the space station, and will be sent to the space station at the end of the school year. So I think that's quite an accomplishment, and it all came about as part of the STEM program, who lately Wheeling has not gotten a lot of publicity about that, even though they were the original high school with that program. So it's nice to see they're back in the headlines for that. So congratulations to Wheeling High School and those students there. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vogel. Anyone else? Director Huizar, when is your rummage sale?
The rummage sale will be Friday, January 19th, from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that's at the Senior Center.
Thank you. And then Community Development Sharps pickup, Mr. Jennings?
Saturday?
Let me get it.
Sorry, Saturday, 10 to noon at the police station.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing else. Bills?
Bills.
Bills. You have before you the bills for December 14th through January 10th, 2018. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Krueger, second, Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes. We have an executive session this evening to discuss pending, probable, and/or imminent litigation. I need a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Motion trustee Vogel, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger, roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. You should not be long. You're all welcome to stay, or you could try and beat the snow. It looks like it might have stopped.